Topic 2 in Unit 2 is a concept which I think all of you are very familiar with, probably you've used a lot in your organization, but I want to deal with it looking at it from some of the key theories that are there in organizational behavior. And that topic is motivation. And I think that's something you all know about, and something that I guess you might be also interested in improving. Well, what is motivation? Motivation is those inner drives or inner forces in a person that affect the direction, the intensity, and the persistence of their voluntary behavior, not involuntary behavior, not something that has come by due to rules and regulations. Though, of course, in motivation we talk about the carrot and the stick, and where the stick could be the rules. But when we talk about motivation, we're really talking about inner drives that are voluntary. And so in a Christian organization, we really depend upon this inner drive. And of course, for many of us, the inner drive comes from the fact that we have been saved, and we want to share the love that Christ has shared with us, with others. So in any organization, motivated employees are the ones who are willing to exert an intense level of effort. They're also willing to be persistent in the face of a lot of challenges and difficulties, and they set their eyes towards the single direction of reaching their particular goals. In today's modern day jargon, in many organizations, we use the term employee engagement, which in very simple terms is actually motivation. And it's both an emotional thing as well as a cognitive, that is related to our thinking. And again, as mentioned earlier, it's about staying focused, about being intense, persistent. And with this, actually, what happens is individuals have a lot of self-efficacy. The more motivated you are, the more engaged you are as employees. So the first, and probably one of the theories you might have already heard of in terms of motivation, is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So Maslow started off with 5 levels of motivation based on our needs, and then later, subsequently, he added 3 other levels. So it starts off with physiological, that is, we first want to take care of our bodily needs, that is, we want to live. Then comes the safety, where we want to protect ourselves, protect our property, etc. We are motivated by that. The third, once we take care of our physical needs and our protection needs, we come to what's called belongingness. We want to belong to a group, to an organization. We want to be accepted. And once we are accepted and belong to a group, we then want to be recognized within that group. And he called that esteem. So we want to be esteemed in the social groups that we are. And once we reach that stage, then we are motivated. At that point of time, he talked the highest level, which is self-actualization, where we try to fulfill the purpose for which we think we are created. Now, what Maslow said is the lowest level of the unmet need that we are in, the next higher level is what will motivate us to do things. He later added 2 other levels between esteem and self-actualization, calling it the need to know, which is education, and the need for beauty. And finally, he also added one along with self-actualization, which is transcendence. That is, once we take care of our purpose, then we start looking at helping others fulfill their purpose. Sounds very biblical, and it is. And actually, many people say that we need to just invert this Maslow's theory, and we start off as Christians at the bottom part, where we want to fulfill the purposes that what God has created us for, as well as to help others, to love ourselves, to love our neighbors. And as we know in Matthew 6:33, it is we want to seek the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and then all these other needs of physiological safety, belongingness, esteem will be fulfilled. Apart from Maslow, there were others like Herzberg and the rest. And if you take a look at this visual on your screen, I've just made a visual which combines all of these. So if you look at needs that motivate people to work, it would be the need to live, the need to love and be loved, the need to be valued and recognized, the need to learn, the need to have variety. And that's something we need to remember in organizations, that if you want your people to develop, to be motivated, you need to give them a variety of tasks and projects to do. And of course, for most of us in Christian organizations, I think leaving a legacy is a great motivator. Apart from the needs theories, we then have the drive theories, and there are 4 drive theory which talks about the inner drives that individuals have, and that helps to motivate employees. We need to give them an opportunity to achieve the different drives that they have. The 4 drives that people have is, one is the drive to acquire, and this could be to acquire stuff, it could be to acquire status, it could be to acquire resources, and that can be a motivator at work. The second is a drive to bond, which is we want to bond and engage. We want to be engaged at the workplace. We want to be able to cooperate. We want to be able to bond socially. The third type of drive is the drive to comprehend. And that is, we want to know about things. And that's why we talk about transparency in organizations, because people have the drive to want to know, to comprehend, and then to contribute, to learn. Because once you know, then only you can actually create. And finally, the drive to defend. And again here, it's the drive that individuals have to defend their own ideas, their stuff, their status, and defend relationships. And if you want to be a leader who's motivating, you need to make sure that people get not only their needs, but also they're able to have opportunities to fulfill all their drives. Another motivation theory which is there and which is very important is the expectancy theory. And this is, it presumes that people have expectations, and their behavior is dictated by the belief that if they increase their effort, it will lead to increased performance, which ultimately will lead to increased rewards. Now the rewards could be monetary, the rewards could be, like for me as an educator, it could be fulfillment to see my students achieve. And so if I have the expectation that if I put in more efforts, that will lead to increased performance of my students, which will lead to more fulfillment for me, then that is a motivator for me, and it means I'm being guided by the expectancy theory. Then we also have an important theory which is called the equity theory, and that is the idea that individuals are motivated by the whole idea of fairness. If people feel that they're being treated fairly, they are going to be highly motivated. Or on the other hand, if they feel that they're being treated unfairly, then they are going to be highly demotivated. And when we talk about equity, we talk about fairness in certain areas. And so one is the whole area of justice. And in terms of justice, we have this issue in organizational justice. There are 3 dimensions. The first is called distributive justice. The justice that I feel that if I am treated the same way as other people are treated, that is, if my behavior results in a particular outcome from the manager, when someone else behaves that way, they must have a similar outcome. That's distributive justice. The other is called procedural justice, and this is you use the same process for everyone. So promotion, you use the same process for everybody in the organization. And then we have interpersonal justice, where it is really rooted in the biblical thing of self-respect, because if you feel that you're working in an organization, you need to be, and you're created in the image of God, then you need to be treated equally. So these are 3 areas which go into the equity theory. And what happens is, if there is a tension in or a feeling of inequity, people start balancing it in different ways. And if you look at the chart that is put up, you can look at that in detail as well when you look at your notes. If someone feels that they are being treated unfairly, they tend to actually reduce their input. They stop working as efficiently. Maybe they may start passing on the work to someone else, or maybe they may just quit the job. So as you deal with your people, remember these different motivation theories, and these theories are not something that happen in isolation. We need to be looking at using all of them as we deal with our people. Thank you.